Today we're going to be talking about zoom lenses for the A7C II. I find that when I watch these videos, I find lots of insight, especially if people have different use cases. For example, my use cases might be different from yours, from another content creator. So I like watching these videos and learning from whatever zoom lenses they use so that I can make a sound judgment on what to buy for zoom lenses. But for the first zoom lens that we're going to talk about, which would be the 24-50 f2.8, one of the newer zoom lenses that has come out. Not new, but like within the past decade. So this is a zoom lens that I find very interesting, very compact, very small, just in comparison so that you guys can see. This is the 24-105. This is the 24-50 f2.8 f4. First thing I wanted to mention is that with the 24-50, the interesting part about this lens is actually it's opposite. It's reverse zoom. So this would be 50. This would be 24. So this one I find I have difficulty with deciding whether or not this is a bad thing or a good thing, because at the end of the day, I do shoot 35 to 40 quite a bit. So that's how much it would be. And this would be 35. So that's really small on my end. But there are times that I do shoot lots of 24, which would be, for example, talking head videos, and just maybe vlogging in general. I find that I like shooting 24, 28, 35, 40, and rarely 50. But there are benefits to this lens that I find that a lot of lenses won't have, is that definitely the size factor for f2.8. I find that it's really compact. Whenever I need to reach f2.8, which I rarely don't use because I like shooting f5.6 to f9. In this case, right now with the 35mm prime that I'm shooting with, I'm shooting at f14 because of the amount of sun that's coming into the apartment. One thing is that because it is f2.8, you get consistent f2.8 and you don't really compromise on that, which is amazing if you enjoy having bokeh. You get a custom button as well that you can use whatever you want to use it for, maybe zoom. You have AF, MF, obviously, and then you can have some click action with it. So you can turn it into more of a non-sounding lens, or if you want that click action so you know where you are at, maybe you like that. ASMR. So the pro I find with this, I'm not really a pixel peeper, but I find that this lens is sharp. It's quite frankly sharp enough for me. So I really enjoy using it, especially with shoots that don't require me to have the range. But one thing I've been doing is, because I have the A7C II now compared to this ZV-E1, one thing I've been doing is I've been punching in more with APS-C mode. I'm enjoying punching in from 50, it becomes sort of a 80mm equivalent. So I really enjoy that, even though I think the quality is still good. I still enjoy using it. So now it becomes very versatile. So now it essentially becomes a 24 to 80. So you gotta consider that when you have this lens, because it's compact enough. It's a 67mm. So you can there. So it's a 67mm filter thread, which I also think is a pro in itself, because a lot of lenses use 67. I believe Tamron uses lots of 67mm. So if you have Tamron lenses, you can use this one in conjunction with your Tamron stuff. It's really been a game changer for how long I've had it. One thing I would be mindful of is try to buy it used. I always recommend buying lenses used, because it is an expensive lens. I'm not sure the retail, but because I was able to get this for, quite frankly, very cheap in comparison to what it is brand new. But one of the cons I think it just has is that also, because of the mechanics of the zoom, where it's 50 here and then 24 here, maybe you use a gimbal and you quite frankly use the 24 a lot, so 24mm range, then you're going to have to balance it for that sort of range, for that mechanics, when it's like that rather than here, which if you go to 35, I don't think it will affect the balance that much. But just be mindful of that. So one thing I wanted to talk about as well is the range versus the 24-105. So the pros is that because it's f2.8, if you have a low light situation, it's amazing. But one of the cons that you have is that compared to the 24 to 105, you're quite frankly missing that 105, that 85 to 105 range, which if maybe you might need it if you're doing maybe sports, but then at that point maybe you need a 200. You can punch in again with the APS-C mode, but to what degree do you want to do that? That's up to you really. And who is this lens, zoom lens for? For me, I think this lens is really for people who just want something light that they can carry around all the time. It's for people who do street photography. If you vlog quite a bit, I think it's a good lens. It's light enough to be a vlogging lens, if I'm being honest with you. It's just that the annoying thing is that once you do that, you have to put it out. Instead of it being, if it were 24 right here, it would have been way better for vlogging. So unfortunately, if that's something that really affects your decision, then maybe I'd look into a more compact lens that we'll talk about. So definitely my rating for this lens, for what it is and what it offers, the tiny package that it brings in, definitely an 8 to 8.5 out of 10. One of the better lenses I've used quite a bit. Now going into the Sony 24 to 105, this is honestly one of the best. I would quite frankly say it's the best lens I've used. I bought it twice already. I sold it before and then I bought it again just because of how good it is. So for this lens, it covers 24 to 105 and it has OSS, which we'll talk about as one of the pros. But from 24 to 105, your range is amazing. So for the size that you get, for the aperture that you get, the 24 to 105 is one of the best ranges that you can get, especially if you're a video shooter. If you use this one is really on steroids if you pair it with the FX3 or the ZVE1 because of the low light capabilities. Sometimes I think it's a bit overkill with the dual base native ISO of the S-Log3. So that's why I really enjoy this with the A7C II right now. It's because I thought I really needed the low light capabilities from the 12,800 ISO, but I find that actually I need the 3,200 as a middle ground because 12,800 is a bit too much sometimes. But one thing I wanted to talk about as well is that a con of this is definitely its f4. So subject separation in relation to 24 to 70 is not as ideal if you had the f2.8. However, once you have 70 to 105, it's amazing because you just get this natural sort of bokeh from having that range. So again, it really makes a big of a difference. Given if you had only one choice, I would definitely recommend the 24 to 105 if you're more so in the creative field where you're freelancing, you're a video freelancer, because this will be important for the range aspect of it and the OSS if you're a video shooter, which we're going to talk about again. So 24 to 105 versus the 24 to 50. 24 to 105 will definitely be for reach and just versatility in all aspects of photography and videography. And 24 to 50 would be what I would go for if I really just need to prioritize getting my camera in somewhere. 24 to 105 can definitely attract attention, but not as much as if you had a full-blown rig. This one, 24 to 50, definitely I can just bring this anywhere I go with the A7C II. It definitely looks like a tourist camera when I combine this. It's almost like a prime lens. It's about this much bigger than my 35mm f1.8 prime. One thing, if you're really torn with the decision of 24 to 105 f4 and 24 to 50 f2.8, just think to yourself, is the one stop going to affect your work? If not, I'd definitely go for the 24 to 105. They're about almost the same price. Yeah, if you get them used, I think you can get them same price. Another thing that a lot of people do is that if you really want a one lens solution, 24 to 105 is definitely go-to. People complain about the OSS quite a bit, that it's not stable enough, but for me, I think it's really helpful having the OSS so that if you can activate the OSS, it really helps a lot, especially with video if you have shaky hands. I don't know where people get the idea that it's not enough. If it's not enough at that point, then just don't go handheld and just use a tripod or just use a gimbal if it's not enough. But again, it's all user-based, it's all user experience. So for my loadout and use cases for the 24 to 105, I definitely bring this even with my smaller bag. I also use the 24 to 50 with the smaller bag, obviously, because it does fit in that setup and it makes it way easier to just bring, because these aren't really ginormous lenses that make my bag heavy enough. So I do use that quite a bit. Now, going into the dark horse, one thing I enjoy using as well is this 28 to 60 kit lens at f4 to 5.6, which is one of the pros of this is that it's the smallest full frame zoom Sony makes, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. So it has a pancake like design, so it's really great if you travel, since it's really small. So you can just I would definitely assume that it makes it look like a pancake lens. So pairing this with the A7C II for photography, street photography, you're not going to intimidate a lot of people, which is something that we have to consider when you do, like, for example, street photography. But one con it has definitely is the variable aperture. So just be mindful of that if you are someone who shoots f3.6, 2.8, you know. This one, the aperture on this one, which is f4 to 5.6, and it's variable, so it changes depending on the range. So just be mindful of that. I personally, if you shoot f5.6, you know, up, then definitely just leave it at f5.6 so you're not stressing too much. Another con that this one has and the 24 to 50 has is that there's no OSS. So if you have shaking hands, might be an issue. The image quality on this, I'm not really a pixel peeper. Again, I mentioned that, and to me, it's sharp enough. If it's sharp enough, I think anyone can really make good work with it. So don't think that a kit lens won't get you far. It'll get you far. It's just that you get more flexibility and more reach with these more expensive lenses. So it's really a tool depending on the price point. Who's it for? Definitely for beginners, people who want a minimal setup, people who enjoy having a tiny setup, people who travel and then want to just pair it with maybe a prime. Maybe you have another lens that you enjoy more. If I use this in conjunction with my A7C II, this would definitely be the setup that I would bring with just a tiny bag, or just a bag in general that I'll bring in wherever. So makes it easy to bring. And I do enjoy using it, try to maximize as much as I can. But since I have other tools to use, I like using those tools too. So there's no discrimination on my part. So just to recap a lot of these, the 24 to 50 f2.8, very compact, very versatile for what you can do with it, especially when you can punch in with APS-C mode, which the A7C II does benefit from. But again, it's limited in reach if you have sort of product photography stuff or maybe detail shots that you want to get. The 24 to 105 is what that is for. It's a versatile workhorse, especially if you do client work. This one will get you far. Definitely recommend this one. Honestly, it's my favorite lens. So 28 to 60 is smallest and the lightest out of the bunch. If you enjoy having a light setup, if you prioritize that, then for the A7C II, this one is an amazing zoom lens. And I hope you guys also enjoy this, because all of these combined is pretty expensive. So making this video is pricey. So hope you enjoyed it. If you guys click on one of these, I'll see you guys there when I see you.